there's something that I always look at when I look at businesses and always think there's something really wrong with the way a business works. And what I mean by wrong is the fact that I go into a business, and if I was to ask somebody, how do you keep score? How do you know you're doing your job in a way that your business is going to exist next year? Their answer always is, I have a paycheck or I'm out the door. And I thought about that and I said, well, what if I asked that of a baseball player? Would they give me that same comment if I get a paycheck or I'm out the door? Or would they have some other goal, some knowledge that they always knew existed, that they knew why they were doing what they were doing and how they contributed to the team? And for a baseball player, it's going to be easy. They're going to say, yeah, I want to win the World Series. And I look at businesses and go, why don't businesses have a World Series? Why isn't there some way for every company to look at themselves and look at what they do and go, if we had this sale, or if we had this many new customers, or if we expanded into this market, that's our World Series, that's our win. As opposed to looking at, did we make a profit or did we not make a profit? And I really encourage businesses and people, even in your own life, to go, instead of just having little goals, find a way to set up what I would call a World Series, a way to know, how am I really getting to a higher level? And something else that businesses, especially businesses, do that I could not imagine a baseball team ever doing is we think it's really dynamic or great of us to be able to wear a lot of different hats. To go, oh, I can run out and get sales, and then I can come out and do the graphics, and then I can answer the phones, and that's really great of me, and I'm doing a lot of stuff, and things are happening. And I think, and I look at that and I go, wait, is that really how you be successful? Is that really focused on making things happen? So I go back to the baseball team and go, could you imagine a pitcher who at 1 minute is pitching, and the next inning he's playing first base, and then he's the catcher, and then he's up in the stand selling hot dogs? I mean, would he ever do that? Is there any way his team could win? So why do we expect that in a business and work we can do everything and win? So again, part of that is we should set some rules, some boundaries, some things we shouldn't do. I mean, it's kind of known, if you watch a baseball game, you're never, ever going to see the catcher run out into left field to get the ball when the ball goes out there. But in your business, I'm sure every one of you has seen the programmer, who's a really good programmer, suddenly fixing the printer for 5 hours. Is that, again, a good use of your asset, a good use of your business asset to go, well, that's what he needs to do. He needs to fix the printer for us. Instead of thinking, maybe there's someone else who's better at that. Maybe there's someone else who's better at fixing the printer than our programmer. And it's not a good thing for him to be fixing the printer when he should be over doing something else. And again, it's looking at that sports analogy and saying, you would never have your catcher in left field. It would never happen, because it doesn't make any sense. And I think the big key one that I wish all businesses would do, and I think any business, if you want to be that business that's going to win that World Series, you would do this immediately. Stop posting job advertisements. Have you ever seen any professional sports team, an ad in the LA Times, wanted catcher, wanted goalie? No. You know why? Because they recruit them. They go out and recruit the best players, the best people. And I really think as businesses, and even in our own lives, you should be out recruiting the best. If you've got a job, you know you have a job opening, you know you need someone in that position. Instead of advertising in the paper and getting whoever walks through the door, why don't you start looking at your network of friends and recruiting people, bringing people in a manner that they know you care about them, and you know they have good qualities, and all of a sudden you've created a team of really great people, as opposed to a team of people who came because you had an ad in the newspaper. And again, I couldn't imagine any sports team running an ad for somebody. And honestly, there's so many things that I look at business and think, why do we do these things? And I think it's because we do them because it's what we see everyone else doing. And a way to think about that is, when you go into a company, brand new employee, what's the first thing they usually do? They give you, if it's a large company, they give you this big book, this manual. This is how our company operates, read it. This is what we do, and this is how we do it. And of course, you never read it. What you do instead is you watch what all the people around you do, and you mimic that. You follow and do what they do, figuring they've been here for years, they must know how to do it correctly. And sometimes that works. Sometimes there are good employees that you can follow and do. But I imagine if I was to go in the audience here and grab 11 of you and say, you know what, we're going to go play a game of rugby right now. I would be surprised if any of you would have any clue what the rules were for rugby. But we'd go out there and play. And what we'd start doing is we'd start mimicking one another and mimicking what the other team did. So when we saw the other team take the ball out to the side and throw it in and grab a guy and lift him up in the air and he catches the ball, we'd go, we got to do that too. And we'd scramble around trying to figure out, you know, are we going to grab Griff here and hold him up in the air and have him catch the ball? And why are we doing that? And I think that's because there's no real set boundaries. There's no real set rules in our businesses that explain to people, this is how we do stuff. This is why we do stuff. And more importantly, this is what the goal is. This is our World Series that we're going for. These are the things that are going to get us farther down the road and keep us in business forever and make us unique. And that doesn't happen if your whole idea of training employees is having them watch what other employees do when those other employees weren't trained on what it was you wanted them to do. And one thing I think every business should want their employees to do, and usually we call it a vacation. I don't want them to take a vacation. I literally want them to have an off season. An off season means, and there's the #1 restaurant in the world for the past 5 or 7 years is in Spain, and they have an off season. 3 months of every year, they close their doors. All the employees then travel the world looking for the best recipes and the most unique foods they can find. And they learn how to prepare them, and they come back, and that becomes the menu for the next year. Well, because they're so fantastic at what they do, because they set these goals, because they're trying to win that World Series, a year in advance is how soon you have to put in a reservation. It takes a year to get into this restaurant. So what that also means for that restaurant is they now know the restaurant's going to be full. So are they spending any time advertising? Are they spending any time worrying how much food we should prepare? How much food should we buy? They know a year in advance how many people they're going to have and who's going to be there and when. Because the only reason they know that is because they took time off. They took time to get away from their job, get away from the daily grind, and really learn more about their craft. And that's that off season. And I think it would be fantastic if every business said, you know what, if we had an off season, we could probably be better than we are now. And when someone says that's crazy, you go, well, every sport has an off season. They need time to recuperate, to get better, to practice, to think about how to do things better. And I really wish there was a way to just wave a magic wand and all of a sudden every business in the world had an off season, had time that they said, leave the office and go get better. Go learn more about your craft. Come back so good that everybody wants to come and do business with us. And the only other thing I think that if you look at a company, you look at a business, and then you look at a professional sports team again, and the one place they really have it right in, all companies really have it wrong, why is it we take our best employees and make them managers? Why do we take our most talented people and put them in a position where they don't do anything? Could you imagine again, a baseball team, you got a guy hitting .465. He should be the manager now. Let's get him off the field. We might win. So look at that. Think of that. And I know the reason is they go, well, there's more money in management. Well, only in business. Last time I checked, a major league manager gets paid good money, but his good players get paid a whole lot more because they're worth more. So keep those really good players in your management. Don't kick them up to the other thing. Pay them more than your managers. What a concept. Stop thinking that the manager is the pinnacle of where you want to be, because that's not going to help your company any. What's going to help your company is a bunch of really dedicated, really good employees who are getting time off, Not time off for vacation, but time off to practice, to train, to learn, to have an off season. And then more importantly, stop running ads and start going out and reaching out and recruiting, because that's going to say a lot more to that employee that you bring in, that you recruited them. Could you imagine someone calling you on the phone and going, I got a job for you and I think you'd really like it, and let's negotiate a salary so we can make you come here and work with us. So those are the three things I think if you leave with nothing else from today, but I hope all these other speakers blow you away and you leave with just so many thoughts, your head explodes. But think about the fact that how can we create an off season? How can we know what we're going for, what our World Series is, and how can we stop promoting good employees into managers?